Welcome to Thai Movie Recap. Tonight, we step into the streets of Bangkok, a city that never sleeps and never forgives. In the 1950s and 60s, Thailand was changing. New music, new faces, new rules. But in the shadows, another kind of law ruled, one written in fists, bullets, and blood. They called themselves Gangsters, but for them, it wasn't about crime. It was about respect, about surviving in a world that had already decided who they were. This is the story of two men, Dang, the legend of the old streets, Jeng, the shadow who would follow and then challenge him. Two men bound by loyalty, destroyed by the same code they lived for. So welcome to the dark side of Bangkok, where friendship bleeds into betrayal and the ghosts of the past still walk among the living. Tonight, we walk into the dark. Bangkok, 1960s. Before the Skyline, before the traffic, there were men who ruled the streets. They weren't politicians, they weren't police, they were gangsters. The city was a jungle, and in that jungle, two names echoed louder than any others, Dang and Jeng. Friends, brothers, enemies. Depending on who you asked, Dang was the kind of man everyone noticed. Slick hair, white shirt tucked sharp into black trousers, a gold chain around his neck, and a smile that could charm or kill, depending on the situation. He wasn't born a gangster. He was made by the streets, by hunger, by fists, by the need to survive in a world where law came second to loyalty. Then there was Jeng, the quieter one. He didn't talk much, didn't drink as heavy. But when he looked at you, you could tell. He had killed before, and he'd do it again if you gave him a reason. It started in the alleyways behind Charoen Krung, a place filled with neon lights, dancers, and shadows. A time when Thai teens idolized Western rock stars and local gangsters in equal measure. The word cool meant a switchblade in your pocket and a reputation on the street. Dang. Being a man's not about being good, it's about not letting anyone look down on you. Jeng. Respect don't come from a knife, Dang. Dang. Then where does it come from, huh? From sitting quiet like a monk? No, brother, the streets respect fear. That's how it was. Loyalty, fear, power. You couldn't survive without all three. And Dang, he had them in abundance. He was the kind of gangster who walked into a bar and the music stopped. Not because people feared him, but because they admired him. He gave money to the poor, paid for funerals, even helped kids go to school. But when you crossed him, the smile vanished, and you'd find yourself floating face down in the Chao Phraya by morning. One night, 1961. The rain hadn't stopped for days. The kind of rain that made even the cops stay inside. Dang sat in the corner of a small bar, cigarette smoke curling up like ghosts above his head. Across from him sat May Som, the bar owner, a woman tough enough to slap sense into any man in Bangkok. May Som, lighting a cigarette. You're bringing trouble again, aren't you, Dang? Dang. Trouble's the only thing that pays around here. May Som. One day it's gonna catch you. Dang. When it does, I'll buy it a drink. But not everyone was laughing. A new kind of gangster was rising. Young blood with slicker suits, bigger guns, and less respect for the old code. They didn't fight with fists anymore. They fought with bullets. And leading them was Jeng. He walked in, wet from the rain, eyes cold. Dang looked up, surprised but smiling. Dang. Brother! Sit, have a drink. Jeng. Can't. We need to talk. The bar goes quiet. You could feel the tension, like electricity in the air. Dang, leaning back. Talk about what? Jeng. The kids. They're getting restless. They say the old ways are done. Dang. Old ways keep us alive. Jeng, sharply. Old ways got people killed. That was the first crack. The beginning of a war. Not between gangs, but between generations. Dang still believed in honor, in looking a man in the eyes before pulling the trigger. Jeng believed in survival. No honor, no glory, just power. Outside, Bangkok was changing. American soldiers filled the bars, money flowed through the red light districts, and guns, real guns, started showing up in the hands of boys who used to carry knives. The code of the old gangsters, never hurt women, never kill cops, never betray friends, was fading fast. And Dang didn't know how to live in that new world. That night, as rain washed the streets clean, Dang stared at his reflection in the bar window. The same reflection that had watched him rise from a nobody to a legend. But legends don't grow old. They die young. And somewhere deep down, he already knew his time was running out. The year is 1963. Bangkok, a city splitting in half. Half tradition, half temptation. Where temples shared the same street as brothels, and the sound of prayer bells mixed with the click of pistols. The government cracked down on gangs, but every crackdown just made them stronger. Cops could arrest 100 boys in one night, but by morning, 100 more would rise. And in the middle of it all stood Dang, the old-school gangster with a code, and Jeng, his former brother-in-arms, now the face of the new blood. There was a bar called Hong Tong Paradise, a favorite hangout for gang leaders, hustlers, and black market dealers. That's where the story of their downfall began. Dang sat at the corner table, the gold chain glinting against his dark shirt. He looked calm, but the city had changed around him. May Som, serving whiskey. Too quiet tonight. Feels like everyone's waiting for something. Dang, dry smile. Waiting for me to die, maybe. May Som, don't joke like that, child. Dang, I'm not joking. You can smell blood in the air. He wasn't wrong. The younger gangs, led by Jeng, were taking over the territories, cutting deals with cops, selling drugs, doing everything Dang swore never to touch. For Dang, gangster life had rules. No kids, no drugs, no betrayal. But to the new generation, rules were chains. Young gangster, mocking. The old man's time is over. We're not fighting for honor anymore. We're fighting to win. Dang, lighting cigarette. Then you'll die without a name. Young gangster, Laphis. I don't need a name. I just need cash. That was the spark. A single gunshot that turned every alley into a battlefield. Gangsters started wearing suits like movie stars and carried guns like American soldiers. Bangkok turned into Saigon. And Dang was now the last relic of an age already gone. Meanwhile, Jeng built his empire quietly. He paid off the right cops, opened gambling dens, and bought politicians. He was smart. Too smart for his own good. But deep down, he still respected Dang. Because without Dang, there would have been no Jeng. Jeng visiting Dang. You should walk away, brother. Dang, chuckling. Walk where? This city's the only thing I know. Jeng, the city's not yours anymore. Dang, smirks. Then I'll die with it. Jeng, softly. Then you really are old. Dang, leans forward. Maybe. But at least I remember when men had faces, not just guns. That conversation was the last time they spoke like brothers. After that, they were rivals, each representing a different kind of gangster, each fighting for a city that no longer needed either of them. For every man Dang buried, 3 more came for revenge. And for every favor Jeng paid for, his soul got a little darker. Both of them were trapped, not by the law, but by pride. And pride, in Bangkok's underworld, was more dangerous than bullets. May Som, to Dang. You could have been anything, child. Why this life? Dang, quietly. Because I wanted people to remember my name. May Som. They'll remember you for the wrong reasons. Dang, looks down at his drink. Still better than being forgotten. That was the tragedy of Dang. He wasn't afraid to die. He was afraid to disappear. And Jeng, for all his power, was haunted by the same fear. 2 sides of the same coin. One living in the past, the other chasing the future. Both doomed by the same thing. Their need to prove they were more than just street thugs. As Bangkok grew taller, their world grew smaller. Soon, there'd be no room for men like them. Men who lived by the code and died by it. Because in the City of Angels, even devils have to evolve. By 1965, Bangkok had become a battlefield. The newspapers called it the era of the gun. Gang wars erupted not for survival, but for territory, for ego, for the illusion of power. And in the middle of this chaos, 2 names echoed through the city like a curse: Dang and Jeng. They once swore to protect each other. Now they were hunting one another. Jeng, to his men, no more warnings. Anyone wearing Dang's colors, red or white, shoot on sight. Lieutenant Somchai. But boss, he's just an old man now. The people love him. Jeng snaps. That's the problem. Love makes people stupid. Fear makes them loyal. That was Jeng's creed now. Control through fear. He had learned from the Americans stationed in Thailand, picked up their weapons, their slang, their ruthlessness. He traded the traditional Thai code of face for Western efficiency. But Dang still fought like an old lion. He refused to adapt. He believed Bangkok still had honor left somewhere in its dirty veins. Dang kneels in front of the small shrine, lighting joss sticks. Dang whispers, "Forgive me, mother. Your son is about to sin again." A young boy runs up, soaked, trembling. Boy, Uncle Dang, they say Jeng's men are coming tonight. Dang, let them come. I've buried better men than them. Boy, terrified. Uncle, please. Run! Dang stands slowly. Run? You don't run from your own shadow. When they came for him that night, Dang didn't hide. He walked straight into the street, his revolver at his side, his white shirt soaked in rain. He didn't care about winning. He cared about being remembered. Dang. Tell Jeng, I'll be waiting at Charoen Krung pier. The pier turned into a war zone. Old school gangsters versus the new. Machetes, revolvers, Molotov cocktails, flames reflected in the river like hell's own mirror. Dang. Hold your ground, gang member. We're surrounded. Dang. Then we die standing. It was a massacre. By dawn, the river carried more bodies than boats. Dang was shot 3 times, once in the shoulder, once in the chest, and once through his pride. He disappeared before the police arrived. Some said he was dead. Others said he vanished into the countryside, living like a monk to atone for his sins. But Jeng, he didn't celebrate. Jeng, to himself. He was my brother. May Som, softly. You killed your mirror, Jeng. Jeng, coldly. I killed the past. May Som. Then may the future haunt you. And it did. Every night, Jeng dreamed of Dang's face. Not bleeding, not angry, but smiling. As if to say, you can take the streets, brother, but you'll never take their respect. Bangkok moved on. The police claimed victory, but crime never really left. It just changed clothes. The gangsters became businessmen. The killers became politicians. And the code of the streets was buried with men like Dang. The war was over. But in truth, Bangkok only learned how to hide its sins better. Dang once said, "The city doesn't kill you. It forgets you." And for men like him, being forgotten was the real death. It's been 6 months since the war at the pier. Bangkok is quieter now, but quiet doesn't mean peace. Not in Chinatown. At night, the alleys breathe, like lungs filled with smoke and secrets. Jeng has changed. No longer the loud, wild gangster in white slacks and gold chains. Now he wears a suit, drives a car, owns half the bars in Yaowarat. But even kings of the street have to sleep sometime. And when Jeng closes his eyes, he dreams of Dang. Jeng, shouting in his sleep, "Dang! Leave me alone!" May Som, rushing in, "Jeng! What's wrong?" Jeng, trembling, "He was here. He was sitting right there, same shirt, the one from that night." May Som, "You killed him once already. Don't kill him again in your head." Jeng, "I didn't kill him for hate. I killed him for survival." May Som, coldly, "Then why do you keep apologizing in your sleep?" The mind plays tricks on those who carry blood on their hands. And Chinatown was full of men like Jeng, rich, powerful, and haunted. He built an empire on fear, but fear is a poor foundation for peace. Soon, his men started to disappear. Rumors spread, a figure in white, seen near the pier at midnight, walking among the shadows, smoking the same brand of cigarettes as Dang once did. People began calling it Dang's ghost. Jeng's driver, Somlek, is locking the car when he hears footsteps. Somlek, "Boss? That you?" Somlek, nervous. "Who's there?" Somlek panics. No, it can't be." By morning, Somlek was found dead, eyes wide open, a cigarette butt between his fingers. The same brand Dang used to smoke. Jeng tried to brush it off, but deep down, he knew the truth. The dead don't always stay buried. Jeng, to his men, "We control the docks, the girls, the gambling. We're untouchable." Gang member, "Boss, what about the ghost?" Jeng slams his glass. "There are no ghosts. Only cowards seeing their guilt." Jeng, quietly, "But if he comes back, I'll face him again." That night, he went alone to the pier, the same spot where it all ended. The rain fell again, like the sky wanted to wash away the blood of that memory. He stood there, lit a cigarette, and waited. Then, Dang's voice, echoing, "You came back." Jeng turns, shaking. "You're not real." Dang's voice, "Then why are you shaking, brother?" Jeng, "You died. I saw it." Dang's voice, softly, "Death doesn't end a debt." Jeng screams, "Enough!" When the police arrived, they found Jeng alone, gun still warm, no one else in sight. He told them he'd shot an intruder, but no body was found, only cigarette butts, and muddy footprints that led to the water. People say you can kill a man, but you can't kill a memory. Jeng tried to bury the past with money, with whores, with whiskey, with blood, but guilt has a way of coming home. In Chinatown, they whisper that sometimes, when the rain falls hard enough, you can still see 2 men arguing at the pier, one alive, one not quite. And that's the curse of the underworld. You fight to be remembered. But in the end, the ones you kill remember you forever. Bangkok, 1970. The city no longer smells like gunpowder and sweat. Now, it smells like gasoline and perfume. The world has changed. Gangsters wear suits, politicians wear smiles, and the same dirty money runs through both their hands. Jeng sits alone in a corner of his bar. Once, this place was alive, full of laughter, danger, and music. Now, it's quiet. His men are gone, his empire crumbling. Only May Som still visits him. May Som, you don't belong here anymore, Jeng. Jeng, half smiling. Where else can I go? The temple won't take me, the police still want me, and the kids on the street, they don't even know my name. May Som, sadly. They know your story, Jeng, but they think it's just a movie. Jeng, maybe that's for the best. Movies always end before the man gets too old. That night, a visitor came. Someone Jeng hadn't seen in years. Lieutenant Somchai. Long time, Jeng. Jeng grins. Didn't expect the police to drink here. Somchai. I'm not here to drink. I'm here to offer you a deal. Jeng. A deal? You want to buy my soul too? Somchai. No. I want to buy your silence. Jeng. My silence about what? Somchai. The past. There are people in the government now, men who came from your world. If you talk, they burn. Jeng smirks. And if I don't talk? Somchai. Then you fade away quietly. No more raids, no more trouble. Jeng leans forward. Like Dang did? Somchai. You should be grateful you still can choose, Jeng. Jeng, calmly. I made my choice when I picked up a gun. Jeng. You know what the difference between us is, Somchai? You kill with paper. I killed with bullets. But we both buried men for money. Somchai. Times change. You didn't. Jeng. No. Times just found a cleaner way to get dirty. That was the last deal he ever refused. A week later, his bar burned down. No one was arrested. No one even asked questions. The papers said it was an accident. But the street knew better. Bangkok doesn't forget. It erases. A fisherman finds an old revolver half buried in mud. Next to it, a small gold chain with the initials D and J. He picks it up, looks around, and for a moment, he swears he hears two voices laughing softly. People said Jeng vanished. Some say he was killed. Others said he walked into the river to join his brother. But the truth doesn't really matter anymore, because by then, Bangkok had already moved on. The bars became banks, the gang leaders became donors, the cops became heroes, and the city forgot the men who built its underworld. May Som, voiceover years later. They called them gangsters, but they were just men trying to survive a time that didn't forgive weakness. And that's the tragedy of The Gangster. It's not about villains. It's about men born in chaos who believed loyalty could outlast bullets. But loyalty, like memory, fades when money takes over. There's a saying from the old Bangkok streets, when the last bullet is fired, all that's left is the echo. And for men like Dang and Jeng, that echo is all that remains. Time passes differently in Bangkok. The city forgets fast, but the ghosts never do. Years after Jeng's disappearance, the old neighborhoods changed. Where there were once bars and brothels, now stand condos and cafes. But if you listen closely, you can still hear echoes of the past. A jukebox humming, a switchblade clicking, a man laughing before a fight. People talk about the age of gangsters like it was ancient history, but for those who lived it, it was the only world they knew. A world where respect came from fear and love was weakness. A world where being remembered was more important than being alive. A young man, early 20s, holding a DSLR camera, walks through the alley. Young man, my grandfather used to tell me this was where the real Bangkok lived. He snaps a photo of a bullet hole in a wall. Vendor, old woman. Young man, don't take pictures here at night. Young man, smiles. Why not, auntie? Vendor, because when the rain comes, they come back. It's just an urban legend now that on stormy nights you can see two men walking together down Charoen Krung. One in a white shirt, one in black. Both silent, both smiling. People say they're looking for peace. Others say they're looking for redemption. But maybe they're not ghosts. Maybe they're memories. Because you see, men like Dang and Jeng never really die. They just become stories told in whispers. Stories that fathers tell their sons, not to glorify violence, but to remind them what happens when pride becomes heavier than love. Scene: small cafe near the river, present day. An old photo hangs on the wall. Two young men laughing beside a jukebox. No caption, no names. Just two friends frozen in time. Customer to cafe owner. Who are they? Owner shrugs. Gangsters. Or heroes. Depends on who you ask. Host softly. And that's the heart of this story. The Gangster was never about crime. It was about friendship, betrayal, and how society turns men into monsters, then buries them beneath new buildings and clean names. But the blood they spilled still runs through the cracks of this city. Host, slow, reflective. Every generation has its own gangsters. They might not carry guns, but they fight the same wars. For power, for respect, for something to believe in. And when they fall, the world moves on. But the streets remember. May Sam, we say ghosts only haunt those who forget them. But maybe Bangkok haunts everyone. So tonight, if you walk down Charoen Krung Road after midnight and the rain hits the pavement just right, you might hear them. The clink of a lighter, a faint laugh, two voices arguing, like brothers do. And if you look carefully down the empty alley, you might see a shadow in white and another in black, walking side by side. They won't hurt you. They've done enough of that. They just want you to remember. Remember that once, before the money, before the lies, before Bangkok put on a suit, there were men who lived and died for a word that meant everything back then. Honor. This has been Thai Movie Recap. You've been listening to The Gangster, 2012, The Legacy of the Streets, a story about loyalty, fear, and how the ghosts of the past never really leave. Until next time, keep your head low, your heart clean, and remember, Bangkok never forgets. Thank you for listening to Thai Movie Review and Spoil. This was a heavy one, a story that leaves you with a lot to think about. What are your thoughts on the film? Which scene has stayed with you all these years? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. That's all the time we have for today. Until next time, goodbye.